Thank you, everybody, for joining our discussion today. And today we're going to talk about how to streamline your Federation infrastructure for Office 365. In today's webinar, we're going to talk about who we are. We're going to talk about some of the challenges and solutions out there that Celestix provides. We'll talk specifically about the Celestix Federated Solution. And we'll talk about why you should look to implementing Celestix Federated. We'll wrap up some question and answer time, and then summary and next steps on how you can start evaluating our solution in your own environment. Let's talk a little about the challenges and how Celestix can provide solutions to help you minimize your Federation pains. Some of the problems and challenges that we've seen out there in talking with customers is, Federation and specifically ADFS is complicated and it's really difficult to configure. I don't have any cloud apps is another common term that we hear from our customers. And really whether they think about it or not, they may have some in their organization, they may not be aware of them. Office 365 and cloud migration is not on my project list. It's something that we're not considering at this time. But talking with customers, the businesses are thinking about it from a pure standpoint of how do I cut costs, how do I move my expense models more from a capital expenditure to operational expenditure, and how do I have the applications that I need to be able to do my business effectively. Some customers are saying, we're fine with using cloud-based identities. We're fine with the model. We don't necessarily need to federate. We only have one or two applications in the cloud. It's not a big issue for our users. And lastly, we're not going to go to the cloud because we need to keep data on-prem for regulatory reasons or the other security policies with those applications. So some of the concerns with Federation, and Federation specifically in ADFS, is, it's complicated, as I mentioned earlier, and therefore unnecessary. Anything that's worth doing is hard in a lot of cases. Users will never forget their passwords. One of the statistics that I remember hearing about a year ago is that the average user has about 24 separate logins with 6 unique passwords. So I guarantee users are, if they're not super geniuses or Mensa candidates, they're probably writing them down on sticky notes. We can manually terminate access as needed. This kind of ties back into how is the application being supported from an identity management perspective. And companies say we can manage those processes within the application. We don't need to rely on our own on-premises infrastructure. We have trained our users not to share logins. And while this may be true for Active Directory and in-house applications, with cloud applications, customers and users are more likely probably going to share their login credentials just from a standpoint of, I need to get access and I don't have anybody to call for support. Therefore, I will share my login with somebody else. We don't have any cloud-based apps again. And lastly, we trust our application provider to do the right thing when it comes to our cloud applications. We trust that their security is sound. We trust that they're monitoring applications and are going to let us know if there is a breach that occurs. And in most cases, probably they will do a better job monitoring, but will they notify you? What is their standpoint? So from a solving some of these problems standpoint as we look at it, one of the big components or big factors of Federation is part of the identity management process. If you think about identity management as a 3-step process, onboarding users, role changes throughout their life, and the termination of the users, how do we forklift or uplift those processes to the cloud applications? In other words, how do we make that a seamless type process for the end user, making sure they're provisioned correctly, making sure they have access, security policies fall in line with our on-premises infrastructure and guidance there. Password management and resets. One of the big challenges, as I mentioned, is who's going to handle those from a cloud app perspective. With Federation, it's a moot point because it's all anchored back into your on-premises Active Directory. And then credential sharing as well. Perhaps you may have requirements around 2-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication with web application access. With Federation, we will obviously leverage all your on-premises infrastructure. Because your Federation servers sit inside your data center, you can combine that with a 2-factor solution. You can combine them with a web application firewall, native firewall. You can import the data into an SCIM for incident collection and monitoring across your environment there. And of course, obviously, increase security through fewer credentials. Users still have one credential, which is why we call it single sign-on. And then application support, as I mentioned already previously. So let's take a little look at our Celestix Federated A-Series solution. And for those of you that have been on some of our previous webinars, this may be a little bit of a repeat for you. But really, with our Federated solution, what we strive to do is really demystify and reduce the overall complexity of both deploying and supporting a federated environment in your infrastructure. So out of the box with our Federated single sign-on services, we'll do the installation configuration of ADFS based on Windows Server 2012 R2. We have native support for integrating to Office 365, which is one of the larger use cases out there. And what we mean by that is that we'll configure ADFS and Office 365 to support federated identities. So if you're using it today or you're thinking about evaluating, it's a very easy, streamlined process to bring that environment up. We are extensible to other platforms and other cloud solutions too as well. So we're not just Office 365, but really any provider that will support the standards in use today. SAML 2.0, WS Federation, WS Trust, we will support those too as well. And then one of the big challenges of ADFS, if you've ever worked with it, is how do I know exactly what's going on? And we'll show you some of that in a later slide. But getting the data out of ADFS, usually involves PowerShell scripting or combing through event logs, looking at key service states and being able to track, okay, how do I know there's an actual issue going on and how do I resolve this? Or maybe it's, hey, what has this particular user accessed in this time frame? Is he having trouble authenticating? Has termination occurred correctly? So those are questions that we can help answer. From a deployment architecture, we are very flexible. So we have both a purpose-built hardware appliance, and we also provide as a software version too as well, which you can overlay into a virtual or bring your own hardware module. So with our software overlay, really what you do is you just bring up a new server, install our software, and it'll do all the rest for you. Install the native roles, handle the certificate management, and do all the configuration for you. And we'll integrate into pretty much any AD infrastructure out there. So from a benefit standpoint, obviously very simple to deploy, very quick integration. We will also be able to integrate into your current deployment. So whether you say we're looking at a greenfield or brand new deployment, or perhaps we already have an ADFS infrastructure. If it's based on Server 2003 or Server 2008, we want to bring it to a supported platform. Or hey, we already have 2012 R2. We're already the latest and greatest. Can we take advantage of some of your intellectual property and some of your benefits? And the answer is yes, yes you can. And we can provide that for you all out of the box. Very simple to operate. Again, one of the themes of, how do we make this more simple to operate? How do we be able to get access to the data we need to see to be able to assure that, yes, the service is running reliably, and we provide all that. And with simple support. So not only, obviously, we have all the information and the rich reporting on premises for you, we also have our support organization as well when you purchase with us. So we offer 8x5 or 24x7 support, and then next day support for or replacements for hardware failures. So we talked a little bit about federation, and we talked about some of the problems and challenges. And then I mentioned obviously of how we can actually extract some of this data. And what we see here are two views of our management console, what we call our comment management console. And on the left there is a very quick dashboard of, hey, what's going on with the services? Are all those services started correctly? Office 365 integration. When's the last time we synchronized? One of the quick factors of health is, is our identity management, our synchronization process working correctly for Office 365? And then from a connection perspective, hey, I want to make sure everything is happy, everything's running good. Are you just having some issues authenticating? Maybe it's something we need to explore, so be able to get ahead of some of those trends of, okay, we have issues with users, maybe we need to do some education, or perhaps there's an actual underlying issue we need to resolve. And then on the right, you'll see our auditing reporting, so the ability to filter, sort, search, and export various data about user activity. So again, from maybe this particular user having issues, we can go and historically look at, okay, have they been able to successfully authenticate in the past? Are they having issues? Is it a problem with the user, or is it a problem with perhaps their system or something else underlying? So let's talk a little bit why implement our solution. Yes, you can deploy federation services on your own, and yes, you can do that. And there's obviously complexity associated with that. I mean, after all, it is built into 2012 R2. But I want to talk about a little bit of how we can help ease that pain and bring your deployment up much quicker and a much more solid platform. So obviously, thinking about some sort of SaaS platform, Office 365, it should be noted that according to Gartner, 44% of companies will adopt some sort of cloud application the next year. Whether it's being Office 365 or something else, it's just going to happen. And it may happen already, and you just don't know about it from the business side. Your businesses will demand and need access to these applications. And obviously, the overall primary factor for cloud adoption is cost savings. We're switching from a capital expenditure to an operational expenditure model. We we want to help you bridge that gap between your infrastructure of today and the infrastructure of tomorrow and the services of tomorrow. And Federation, and Celestix Federated, is that glue, if you will, that helps bridge that gap there. So we help ensure the security and integrity of those applications. We're going to help you reduce your administration and pain, again, with the multiple logins, multiple passwords. How do I authenticate here? What should I do there? You want to uplift your existing identity management process to the cloud. Again, we talked about onboarding, role changes, termination. And Federation, and specifically Celestix, helps with those challenges. And then our support organization, if you have a problem or a question, maybe you just need some professional services for a new application, and we can be your one-stop partner for that. Talk a little bit about our flexible deployment models. Again, we offer really in two varieties for you to meet whatever needs you may have. We have a purpose-built appliance, preloaded with Windows Server 2012 R2, hardened and secured per Microsoft's and industry best practices. And we have the configuration wizard to guide your entire setup. We also offer the same capabilities for our virtual software installer. So say perhaps we have largely invested in our virtual server infrastructure based on VMware or Hyper-V, and we'd rather go that route. It's not a problem, not a challenge there. So we can actually overlay for existing deployments or brand new deployments. And we'll install and configure our Celestix management console. And most importantly, we will not touch any of your current configuration. So whatever you have, we'll just consume that, read it, and then provide that for you. So there's no changes made to your processes, authentication, claims-based trust, or anything of that nature. So with that, I definitely like to take a couple questions, some time, and answer any questions you may have. Please feel free to put them in the question pane in the GoToWebinar, and I'll definitely answer them. While we wait for one of the questions that comes up quite a bit from us is, well, what does it look like? What does a typical infrastructure look like from an ADFS or Celestix Federated deployment? And the answer, of course, it always varies. At a minimum, we do recommend having two servers running federated solutions, either appliances or virtual-based. That provides for hardware availability. So in other words, if one is going through a patch or some sort of maintenance cycle, the other one still can service those requests. And then you can split these across multiple data centers. So if you have, say, 2 data centers with 2 points of entry, you can have the 4 or 2 in each data center for high availability, failover, warm state reasons, whatever have you. From an external side, there is a second component called the ADFS proxy, and it's typically recommended for this for remote. So we see a question on the line here. What's a typical time saving you've seen with a customer using the A-Series instead of doing the ADFS install themselves? And the answer is, typically with our A-Series, we can accomplish it within a 4 to 6 hour period versus a 2-hour period. So from a next step perspective, definitely we do offer personalized deep dives. So if something you are interested in learning more about or doing more of a technical deep dive or demonstration of our solution, definitely we're available for you. We do have a no-cost evaluation program for either our software or appliance-based versions. And lastly, we do offer proof of concept assistance, time box to around 16 hours for you to deploy and stand up a federated solution for your environment. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you for your time, and thank you for listening to our discussion today about Celestix Federated and how we can ease your migration path to the cloud. We do have promotional pricing right now, and so to schedule your free evaluation, please just contact us at sales@celestix.com or using our website. Thank you very much, and I hope everybody has a great day.